Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to the Pain Clinic we are May 9th today. I am the Cash Man. I'm joined by, it looks like Murph. Hey Murph, how's it going, buddy?
Not bad. Are you going to be quarantined until August 9th? Or
I hope not. I hope not. But let me go through my plugs and then we'll get into this shebang of talking pro wrestling. Holidays today, there's a few. Mother's Day, obviously tomorrow's Mother's Day, so Mother's Day. Hanging Flower Basket Day, okay. International Migratory Bird Day, Lost Sock Memorial Day. That's for all you dryer fans. National Babysitter Day and National Train Day, Windmill Day, and tear the tags off your mattress day. So that's a little bit against the law, I believe, according to what they write on those tags there. But
damn the man.
There is no birthdays today, so we'll jump right into it. Interested in roller derby? Want to be an official skater? Help out any way you can. Rock City Roller Derby needs you. Contact recruitment at rockderbyrecruitment@gmail.com. And join Rock City Roller Derby next weekend. They are playing at the Dome. First game of the season, playing against Queen City Roller Derby from Buffalo. We have the A's and the B's against each other. It'd be a blast. Come on out. If you're into the men's team, Flower City Fear, FLOUR. If you're curious why they name it that, there's this great video on YouTube. It talks all about the Flower City, which is Rochester. And at one time it was, flour mills, and then it turned into flowers. Like for instance, today's the first day of the Lilac Festival. In fact, there's probably a parade going on right now as we're speaking. Flowercityfear.com. Check them out. Always need some help. Let's jump into it today. We're going to talk wrestling. Thank you, Murph, for joining me. It's been a while, brother. I miss you.
Yeah, no, likewise. And I'm just over here. And every Mother's Day, it just it harkens in my mind the question that I always ask when a girl tells me she's with child. I always say, are you sure it's yours? And 9 out of 10 times they run away in the other direction screaming. So, but no, it's God bless America. Yeah, it's that time of year, the lilac. I feel like, and from my voice to God's ears, usually during the Lilac Festival, there's a big spat of rain, and I think it's supposed to be tonight. So,
no surprise. No surprise at all. It's only been in the 40s this week. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what year, what time of year we are in, but if it is the Lilac Festival, then rains are expected. So a bunch of bands. It's a big festival here in Rochester. If you're not from Rochester, it's a huge festival. It's probably the biggest one. We kick off the year with it. It's always in a bad time of year. It always doesn't seem to be, unfortunately, my lilacs out in front of my house are starting to bloom. So it's seems like it's perfect time when the lilacs are blooming, but it just, unfortunately, it seems like more like our winter's turning into spring and our spring is turning into summer around here. So it's like,
it's one of those things where you hear about, it's almost like In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Like, I have all this association with the lilac. I can feel the humidity on my face, and I can smell the rain, and I can feel the lilacs dripping on my shoulders. And I remember, don't worry. But it's always like they would always have, who was that? Was it Rusted Root? I would like to reach in my, send me on my way. Send me on my way. Like every year.
For 10 years they were here. Every year.
Yeah, and it's like one year they're like, oh, they're not going to be at Lilac. Like, oh, they're at Party in the Park. It's like you couldn't get away from Rusted Root. And God bless. And I think maybe Spin Doctors came once, so I guess you get the vibe of the music they're putting through. I remember when I was a boy and I was DJing over at BER. We had a booth there, and it was just it was rough, man, because like people would all be cutting through this security area, and the security guard, I did security and still do it a la carte here and there for years. It'd be like, hey, you can't go through there, and then it's like, you're not working right now. It's almost like those commercials where it's like you're turning into your parents and the guy's calling the people for their coffees, so I just have to, mind you, that was still 15 years ago, but I just needed to take 5 and not flash back and have PTSD.
Well, yeah, I think I get that. You know what? I work at a high school, so it's like that instinct is all the time. It's like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Stop that. Stop going there. Get out of here.
Don't lick that.
Yeah. Keep your mouth off that. stuff like that all the time. But yeah, so hey, we're here to talk pro wrestling. I'm just going to give you an idea what we're going to talk about a little bit. We've got WWE cutting contracts, which kind of came to light this past week. You know, we ended the show last Saturday, and then what? 20 minutes later, there were some major cuts from that we didn't talk about, which we're going to get to today. Kofi and Woods, amongst a couple, are done. No more New Day. The New Day is Old Day. WWE Backlash is this weekend. WWE is coming back to Buffalo, and we're going to talk a little bit about Ted Turner and, you know, what he meant to wrestling, and his impact upon, you know, he did die this past week, and his impact on stuff. But it's nice to have Murph here to start. There's a Flylock Festival week. There's actually a parade going on right now as we speak, and it looks like it's not raining, so that's a big plus.
There, but by the grace of God, you know.
I see I got a few people in the chat room already, and the first thing I see is Gingy. Gingy, if you, you know, I might as well jump into storyline crap that sucks, and Gingy sucks. Okay, Gingerbread Man, obviously, leading up to WrestleMania. Trick Williams was trying to make fun of Sami Zayn by his red hair, having a gingerbread man come out and be a part of the build up to the match, which and then of course, Sami Zayn went nuts and destroyed Gingy last week. Apparently, Danhausen found the Gingy costume after the funeral last night in a garbage bin, and Danhausen has a mystery partner tonight. He tried to clone himself during SmackDown last night. It did not work. But he found the Gingy costume. So I have a feeling Gingy is coming back. Scott. So
well, it's like Jim Cornette has that long-standing theory: if anything comes out of a crate, it's over. I say if you find something in the garbage, it's over. I hope it's Hacksaw Jim Duggan with the TV title dressed as Gingy.
There we go. Yeah, so man. I was just scared because they announced John Cena was going to be back for this pay-per-view, and who knows, maybe John Cena will be dressed up in a Gingy suit. He retired though. I'm sure John would fight against that. So it's got to be some big surprise, but you know, might as well start off the show without even addressing that as much as talking about the cuts from last week that went deeper. I think there's 26 stars that were cut now, but the latest 4 were Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods last weekend, as soon as we got done with the show. So we couldn't even talk about it on the show, but we found out pretty much after the show ended that that 2 of the New Day were gone. Actually, Big E, the last one from the New Day, still actually employed, and you can't count. You technically can't count. What's his name? The Australian kid, because he never was really part of the New Day.
He's like the Jim Neidhart of. You remember when Jim Neidhart was with DX for like 45 minutes, and then
yeah.
People do the Grand Pantheon of DX and Jim. So I guess Grayson Waller or Wally Grayson or whoever. Yeah, it's
Waller. What he was a guy who was found, I think, on like some reality show in Australia when he got signed. Now listen, I like him. He's funny. He does the comedy bit pretty good. But he just hasn't found a niche yet. He was like tagged up with Austin Theory for quite a long time, and when they disappeared, he disappeared. So
that was like if they were both from Australia or both from America, they could have been the Australian males or the American males. I think a lot of that was based on being pretty boys.
Pretty much, yeah, I would agree. So and so now he's just the toxic guy, you know, Kit Wilson there. But not only were Woods and Kofi Kingston released, but also JC Mateo and Tonga Loa, sorry. Guys that were inserted into storylines that had to be abruptly removed this past week without any explanation, much like Asuka and Kairi Sane. You know, Asuka was, bullying Kairi Sane for quite a while. And then all of a sudden Kairi Sane's gone, it's like, they just kind of continued on with that same storyline, except that they didn't, Kairi Sane go, we're just going to move it over to Io Sky. So, and which doesn't surprise me in the least, because Io Sky did have issues with Asuka anyways. And it was like, I think it's a big deal because one, the New Day was there for a very long time, and 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 what we find out later was it wasn't more like they got cut. They just didn't get re-signed
Well,
because they wouldn't take a pay cut.
and this is very TKO.
Yeah.
You've always heard for years and years in the UFC about guys making, $16,000 for a fight, which is a year at McDonald's. You know what I mean? And you might get 2 to 4 fights a year, and even then, you're not at 60 grand. So some of this stuff, and I always am a bit like back at the pandemic when they cut a bunch of wrestlers and they cut a bunch of agents, and every year at WrestleMania, people get outraged. How could you cut Tyler Breeze? You made a gazillion dollars, and this year it's really been out of line because like you just said, these are people in current storylines and whatnot.
Yeah.
And but it's like you don't have to be the home for wayward. Like AEW gets the not when you get into the tribalism, the WWE period and the AEW period, like fans that don't watch it, they go, they got 9,000 guys on their roster, and Britt Baker's sitting there collecting dust in a basement, chained to a wall with cobwebs. Okay, cool, but like you don't have to be the home for wayward wrestlers, but at the same time, there is a natural, sunrise, sunset. There is a natural phasing out of some of and these NXT kids, that was the thing. Like, if you're not progressing, we're going to fire you. But yeah, if you have people in current storylines and it's like, take a 50% cut or get out, that's this mafioso TKO tactic of getting money down, and the money all goes to the top, and it's very not fighter friendly, and you got these guys in here like Mark Shapiro, who's our truth, who is the New Day, get these guys out of here. It's like doesn't even have, and would it help New Day to go and work the indie scene for a year and freshen up and be away? It wouldn't hurt them terribly, or even if they went to AEW because they got all this video game feud with these guys.
Yeah.
It wouldn't kill them, but it's just like the way it's like, you better cut down to, and it's a lot like when Vince signed Gallows and Anderson to like $1.5 million contracts, and then he figured AEW had a lot of guys and it wouldn't be a threat. He's like, well, get out of here, and he cut. It's just like this. It's this ostentatious flaunting of money and then taking it back. It's like, let the contract run its course, and that'll be groovy. But like when it's like, you better take 50%, Buster, that's very Trumpy and like New Jersey longshore, like, yeah, you did all this overtime, you're not getting paid for it. You know what I mean? So that's my take. I do get annoyed every year. They're like, how could you cut indie wrestler 47 from NXT level up? Well, okay, cool. Yeah, there is a time, a culling where you're going to look at your roster, but Kiara is the road that I must travel. Like, if she wants to go back to Japan, finish the storyline for her.
Yeah, and I don't even. And the thing is people have said that she said she wanted to go back, and then she's like, "Nah, I would have stayed without a doubt." The money was good.
I think they're harkening back. I don't know if you remember the last time she left, she wanted to go, and people might have just been applying that to her. Oh, she wants to go home. But you do get, I think she probably will be the R-Truth of it. She'll come back, do the one thing, soak up a contract for a year, and then that'll be the end of her. Because, like, it's just, they got so much bad PR as far as ticketing and money and billions of dollars. I think she probably will come back and finish it, finish her story a la Cody Rhodes, and with much less fanfare. But it's like, the Troy McClure said, it's like a mule with a spinning wheel with TKO. Damned if you know how they found it, and even more so if they know how to use it.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. And then we heard about the cuts and everything were that this is usually WWE staggers these things. So you don't feel so much outrage immediately, but this was 1 week after WrestleMania when it started, and it was a lot of people all in one shot. Just, it was kind of some of the people, we found out about the people like a week or two later because they didn't go to social media to say goodbye to everybody and everything. But I think it was, the New Day, I don't know. It's a shame. And they were I felt bad. They've been kind of like, treading water for quite a while there, not really being, but they were a good heel tag team. So you could always pitch them against any of the good guys. But of course you go and you get rid of the Motor City Machine Guns, and it's like, I think that was their first setup, was those guys. But that it just but I think the worst thing is the MFTs lost 2 of their players, and it was like they're right in the middle of having a feud, but then again, they also fired the entire Wyatt Six there. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a bloodletting that all happened very quickly. And, I mean, you can be upset about it, but now if you watch any of the major programs, the elevated NXT people are up now. Now, if you watch NXT, there's a lot of people elevated up there that we've never seen before. So, and that was the last couple of weeks on this show. It's like, who are these people?
Who are these people?
Who are
Yeah,
these-
and that you got the speaking of the gingerbread boy, you got the Pillsbury Doughboy down on Rooks or whatever. I mean, holy cow, that's a guy that gives us all hope. I guess he's Sammy Callahan reborn. And for everybody that always says, back in the days when and this is coming from a fat guy. I'm not like dunking on a fat guy. I am a fat guy. Damn it. And that Rook kid, but yeah, and right, and I feel like this isn't like the only thought anybody had, but that Lizzie Rain's going to be there for about 5 minutes. She's going to be the female Danhausen, like with this whole Iron Maiden and the Thunderstruck kick. She's going to get a rocket strapped to her. But yeah, and she's got a little Tony Storm to her. I don't know if maybe it's because of the British thing, but she's definitely has a vibe. And yeah, well, again, sunrise, sunset, and you got to bounce those people up and get them moving and figure out who's gonna move the needle. Because there was a time there at the end of the Vince area where they were bringing in a lot of people in their late 30s and early 40s. Like, Ethan Page isn't a baby. So some of these guys, you got to, I guess, see what they got. And that might be my spoiler pick. If they go, if they said to Danhausen, you could have whoever you want as your partner, I think it might be Ethan Page, but just don't bet on that. Unless
I would enjoy it. I like Ethan Page as a character. He's not that much different from when he was in NXT. I mean, TNA, pardon me, TNA many years ago when he was in tag team in TNA, that's when, his solo career began, because he started as a tag team there a long, long time ago.
Yeah, him and Alexander the North.
I love that, man. They were a great tag team. They were like the tag team of the year, I think, in 80 or 2018 or 19, I think. So they were a solid team. And I kind of wish they would stay together, but they're both better apart, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of guys being inserted up. And so one thing I'm going to say is I don't think NXT really cares about ratings, to be honest with you, because you're not going to get ratings on people nobody have any idea who they are. And when you have suddenly inserted a bunch of people who, you might remember them from this show on A&E, the Jeremy Borash, and I love Jeremy Borash to death, but he's got that show. What's it called again?
LFG.
LFG, and it's not Let's What Go, but it's Future Gold Greats or something like that. So
let's figure geometry.
I watched the first season of it. I liked it, and then it's like, oh, they're continuing on, and it was okay, but I stopped watching it because it was just trying to create. It's like a Tough Enough cereal, sort of. It's like they have
that was so hot in the times of the real world and stuff like that. We're gonna see them. They're all gonna have $100 for groceries, and they're gonna have to figure it out between themselves. And
we'll put their finger in my peanut butter.
Yeah. You're so gross.
He picks his nose with that hand.
Yeah. Well, you should see what he does with the other hand. So you kind of won out, but that seemed to be a vehicle for Michelle McCool and Bully Ray and stuff like that. So there's the problem is, like, when they lean into this thing with Evolve and Level Up and NXT, and it's like the 7 or the 9 levels of hell or whatever. You got all these developmentals. You can't really do that. We got a Ziggy the Gator Hunter here, and he's going to do his best to make it so his mama can get an ice cream store. Like, I don't know. It does sort of fall short, and you sort of get lost in the sauce as the winner of those shows too, because you're not special. Oh, is that the one that won LFG, or is that the one that won?
They make you have to watch it now when they start referring to that person when they're on NXT now. And I don't know how you feel about NXT, but I feel NXT is on even field with every one of those WWE shows. It's the only, but it's also treated as developmental, even though it's got a national show. It's on CW. It could be seen not with a cable. So there are people who can pick that up for free, so it may be the most, watchable show for people who don't have a lot of money because, if you don't have cable, you can't watch pretty much anything,
Oh yeah, and it's like we know, to get inside baseball on it, it's like the Wham and the ABC and a third are all in the same building here in Henrietta, and it's like, yeah, that was always the thing with SmackDown, and they were like, we need a strong Latino presence on SmackDown for people in El Paso. Same thing. It's like, places where people don't have 75 tiers. Not, and it used to be 700 channels. My dad was like this. He's like, "Do you want to watch Showtime Max Extreme Vietnamese?" And I'd be
West
like,
Coast.
"Yeah, West Coast, yeah, from 3 hours." I'm like, "I don't, but I guess you should put it on just so I could say I experienced it." But like now it's you got 9 different streaming services, so it's but yeah, no, for folks just living life and not buying into all that, that is the most, and it has storylines and. Right, it's kind of its own little territory, and I've always thought that way, even back in the days of Emma and her shopping cart, the first iteration of NXT, and yeah, her bubbles, and then she's out stealing iPads or whatever from the local Walmart, but we won't get into that.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah, I agree. So yeah, it's interesting. It's like, so I feel it's always been an even platform, but it's like I think if you don't know the wrestlers, then you probably aren't going to watch it. And I will be honest with you. Listen, Javon Evans is great, and I'm glad he got bumped up and everything. But man, there's people that spend very little time in NXT. And there, when we see, some people shouldn't have to spend time, like Julia is one, shouldn't have spent much time in NXT at all. Stephanie Vaquer, she obviously, they, when there's a bidding war between AEW and WWE and they send him down to NXT, it's like, it's very, like, now they got Evil down there who shows up on NXT, and he's obviously, his name's going to be changed, but that guy should be on the main roster too. But the main roster is kind of crowded still. It's like I was just thinking this past, I'm watching SmackDown, remembering all these cuts, and then I saw R-Truth was part of the group of guys backstage, and they kind of like worked him in on a bit last night. And it's like, this guy, and like you mentioned, he left and then he came back because of the fan outrage. I don't know if Kari's saying that will happen, but there is, JC Mateo was a hot free agent and got signed by WWE, and they did nothing with him, put paint on his face, and that, but then again, you look at him too, the size of him compared to the other guys. And he was like, there's like these behemoth Samoans, and then there's JC Mateo, and it was like, I think that was to his disadvantage, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's like, which of these things isn't like the other ones, but no, that's to that point about NXT. It's like, when you get like, you'll see sometimes if you're looking for a job, you'll see supervisor, and you come into a company and they're like, okay, well, we know we hired you to be the supervisor, but you got to learn your way around here and pay your dues around here. And it's like, didn't you trust me enough to hire me as a supervisor? It's like, I got 20 years wrestling in New Japan, but I got to go through and show you I can do it the WWE way. And but it's serving 2 masters, like you say, because if the main roster's full, well, we'll feed you through there. And I don't know if you remember, they were going to do that with the Young Bucks and Adam Page. It's like they're like, we'll take Kenny Omega on the main roster, but those other 3 guys were going to go through NXT.
Oh yeah.
And embarrassment of riches, I guess. Like, that's wasn't that going to be the name of your show when you were doing one like Jackass, Embarrassment of Riches?
Something like that.
You're going to roller skate around in a leopard thong. But yeah, it was God bless America, man. You just hope that the cream rises and has an opportunity, Yeah.
So I did want to mention that I kind of hinted at that WWE and TKO, quote unquote, have been trying to cut contracts on people to renegotiate at half the price that they were getting paid. And, and you mentioned TKO and the way they deal with UFC fighters, the guys would make nothing. They would have fight of the night and they'd get paid way more by that bonus for fight of the night than they were getting paid to fight most of the time. That's why they felt that it would inspire them to fight harder if they could make way more money that way. And that's, honestly, that's probably not a bad way to do it, but they're making, like you said, top down, man. That's where all the money's going, is to top down, and it's like, that's how it's right now happening in WWE. We've just found out Tony Khan was re-signed to a new contract when they were doing their investor call this past week, that he signed, I think, another 3 or 4 year contract. Triple H as well. But, and then they're asking people to take 50% cut on their contracts. And then, it's either they do or they get released. And so you can see so far, there's probably a lot of them out there that have taken that pay cut, to stay. I'm not sure. We haven't read too much into it yet, but I'm sure we'll hear more about it as time goes on, about people who had to take a pay cut to stay in WWE. And it's a shame, because I feel bad, because there's a lot of talent backstage that just goes there for the catering and then doesn't really ever get any TV opportunities and stuff. And they're still, thank goodness, under contract.
Well, that was like back in the day. It was JTG. He was the Where's Waldo. Oh, JT, there's somebody passed. He's out there in the tribute group, and there's a bunch of people running around for the 24/7. There's JTG. JTG was that guy for a while. There always seems to be a guy that just kind of is walking towards a buzzsaw, and then it turns off and flies the other way, or he's about to walk through a pit of alligators and he takes a left. There's those guys that got a horseshoe in their back pocket, and but eventually, I guess, and that was R-Truth. And, that might have been a thing too, of Vince loved R-Truth so much that maybe TKO was like, Vince likes you. Well, we don't, I don't know. That's just speculation.
And the funny thing about R-Truth, when he was cut, and I think we've talked about this when it was a year ago when it happened, is he wasn't really cut. They just weren't going to sign him to a new contract.
Right.
And then he said he was cut in social media, which started a firestorm. But the fire's not quite like the firestorm we saw from active wrestlers in WWE after these 26 cuts on the first Friday or whatever after WrestleMania.
It reminds me of Milton in Office Space. It's like, we just stopped sending the check. It's like
it kept showing up.
Yeah, you keep coming, but we're not paying you. And God bless it, man. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it's just sad, and it's like, I guess. You know what? It makes AEW look better for a lot of those guys in WWE, because it's like, oh, well, they haven't cut half their contracts. I'm not even sure what people get paid anymore, to be honest with you. If it's a public company, we see it. So we definitely know what people get paid in WWE, because you can just look through their SEC filings and things like that. But AEW is a private company, so we do not see it with them. But I think that, maybe it looks to them a little bit more appealing, except for the fact that they have a 120-pound heavyweight champion on their roster right now,
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Murph, before we get too far away from it, what'd you think of WrestleMania?
I think, it was much maligned and everybody was kind of down on it. But truth be told, I feel like the flow, it was probably the best one in a long time. I enjoyed it. Obviously there was the turd in the punch bowl of the McAfee thing, and that was so disjointed and weird. It's like, when you're gonna have somebody be like this guest czar, overlord, trying to disturb whatever, don't have it be a guy that was announcing for you for 20 years. It's like, sure. You got to have and there's all this talk of Stephen A. Smith now. That would have been better at that time. I'm not saying it would have been great, but it would have been better. But I liked it. It felt like two distinctly different nights. The Oba and Brock thing, if that was really Brock going into business for himself or really retiring out of nowhere or whatever, I think history is going to remember Brock Lesnar much more fondly. And I don't think I've ever given my take on this. The whole thing with the Janelle Grant thing, trying to make him into a boogeyman, that sounds more like Vince is just an old pervert. Like when you were in school and you'd be on the playground, somebody would be like, hey, you want to see this dusty magazine? And be like, oh, sure, buddy. Like that's sort of what that sounded like. Hey, you want a girl that'll do it? Okay, Vince, cool, man. And like, she's like, oh, I can't make it. He's like, oh, dang. I just think it was easy to make him the common denominator between the UFC, the WWE, and TKO. I think Brock goes home and is content to sit on his farm with Sable. But him and Oba, I was just talking with a friend yesterday. Like Oba, to me, is almost like a Hulk Hogan era heel. With his little hitch and his giddy up. I usually walk like that after I
legs asleep.
Yeah. You got the arm thing too, and he looks like, it's funny because Street Fighter's out right now. He looks like a Street Fighter character to me.
Big time. And I had a feeling it was going to be a squash because there was a lot of things floating around that day saying that it was going to be like a 4 minute match because it was on ESPN.
Yeah.
It was offered for free. Well, technically, if you pay for cable, you didn't have to pay for the ESPN Unlimited or whatever they call that to watch it. So yeah, it was, I think it was kind of like even Heyman has come out this past week and said he did not know that was going to happen. I'm guessing it was the last contracted match that Brock Lesnar had to do with WWE. I'm not absolutely sure he's done just because he has a daughter who probably will make her way to WWE because of one, she's like very muscular and big, and she does some shot put, I think it is, that's
Yeah.
you can't be a pro at, so you gotta find a way
Well,
to make money.
yeah, and they love the second gen. Maya is her name, and it's the whole they love second generation. I don't think they've had a daddy daughter second generation, especially when you have this. He is of the most mythical creatures and features and animals that's ever walked through there. And if it's like, oh, you're not going to get my son, you're going to get my daughter, and she's just as much of a killer, and she comes out and eats Charlotte Flair, and then suddenly has Rick threatening to beat up her boyfriend. Oh no,
Well, I'd love to see Ric Flair and Brock Lesnar. No, actually, the funny thing, you saw the whole video where he was introduced to Brock, where the guy was scared to death.
Oh yeah,
it was very funny.
It's crazy because
suddenly Brock Lesnar is a funny guy, and suddenly he seems to be like, instead of being the ultimate killer we all envision him as, you see him doing these nice things now that then they all kind of hid for a long time.
It's crazy because there's a shot of him out there like paying for her haircut at the salon, like he's sitting in the corner reading a magazine while she's getting her hair done. And yeah, I like that idea that he's just going through life like ripping doors off hinges accidentally and then apologizing like, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Because there was a little bit of that when he was coming up. I remember there was a feature on ESPN when he went to the UFC, and he met the guys at Subway and bought their sandwiches and push their chairs in. That was a trick that Jim Barnett told him about back in the day. He said, always make sure you push their stools in. But wait a minute. Well, never mind.
Wait a second.
That's something different. But he's just like a real gentlemanly. And I imagine growing up on a farm in Webster, South Dakota, like you got some of that in you, even if you're a big nasty guy. Like, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Hello. Hi.
Oh, remember he almost didn't. Yeah, he used to. I remember a story with him and another like heavyweight wrestler who would hunt with out of planes or something. And he was, he was obviously a man's man and did all this stuff. But I'm guessing now we're seeing like at WrestleMania, there's some videos I saw where he was like being kind to children and stuff like that. So I think maybe I don't know if he really got emotionally upset or it was just a good acting when he was like taking his boots off in the ring. But, you know, I will tell you, like when I came on the week after WrestleMania, I said the two things that stuck out to me were one, Page is back, and two, Danhausen's bit on the Sunday night. So beyond that, it's like notable things that happened. Not so much good, solid wrestling. Short matches, though. There was a lot of short matches on WrestleMania with a lot of pre-tape promos in between and a lot of commercial. There was a lot of commercials.
Oh, well, yeah.
You watch what's it called? What's the spoof?
Botchamania.
Botchamania. You watch the beginning of that for last week, and you see all they had was like ad after ad after ad that was on WrestleMania with Drew McIntyre, and then another one and another one.
Well, and the thing you, me, and Billy Dettori appreciate, they played this plugs for you, the Neil Young. Not singing about Pepsi, not singing about Coke. Yeah. Oh man, I loved that when I was a kid. I loved that video. They didn't play it on MTV because MTV's like, yeah, guess what? We need sponsors. But,
yeah, we need Pepsi and we need Coke.
Yeah, we need Pepsi, Coke, and Mr. Pibb. And if you're out there, Mellow Yellow, give us a call. But that crap, I strictly on the flow of the show, it was good. But that stuff's for the birds. And the goofball from downstate there that works for Metallica or whatever, buying his way onto, this is
the guy sitting next to Michael Cole. It's like
Don Shankleton. Yeah, and it's like,
who's this guy? Yeah.
I expected Wade Barrett to be like, he's a nice boy, and like pat him on the head. But
I was hoping someone was going to take him out, but he was gone before the match started. So
Yeah, well, and that's where it really starts to feel greasy. Like everybody is up in arms about the Slim Jim table, and I understand it's a device, whatever, but there was a lot, and that's stuff my dad would have lost his mind about. Like, we paid for this ESPN app and we're getting all these commercials. Like, that's the whole idea. Even with like YouTube, you buy the premium, you don't have to watch the commercials.
Yeah, that was, yeah. So that was, you have some good, and the thing is if you took all the matches in lengths of time and you put them all on one show, it still wouldn't have been one of those marathon WWE shows. So, because there was like 6 minute, there's a 10-minute women's match, there's a 6-minute match, there was a good couple of long ones, but those were also the main events. So, but
Right.
beyond that, and how do I feel? I didn't feel like anything was, I mean, Cody Rhodes won still, so there was that was kind of a build up for the same, and then I didn't mind Punk losing. We all have a problem with Punk, or some people do at least. And so Punk not winning against Roman Reigns is fine, but where they've gone since, I don't know. I feel kind of, it's have to build up some new matchups for people. And then we've got the Backlash this weekend, which actually is kind of the start of that. That's going to be tonight, actually, I believe. And
oh yeah, it is. And it's weird to have, like, and obviously Danhausen can go and he's had matches and everything else. It's weird to have almost like a non-wrestling manager be the most over guy in the company. Yeah. But at the same time, it works. Like, it reminded me last night when he was in there doing that concoction, trying to make his own twin of, like, you remember when Urkel would go in his basement and turn into Stefan?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminded me of. Like, maybe Danhausen will have a really smooth, like, Danhausen twin or something. Although I think his machine broke, but whatever's clever. I mean, and I'm sure TKO's going, oh, they like it, let him go. But, like, let him go and let him do what he's doing. But I think he's going to be sympathetic a lot because he's, not the typical wrestling physique. And at some point, it'll be like no holds barred, and Pepsi Phil will have to save him at some point. But yeah, it's strange days indeed.
I would agree. And it thank goodness, there's some highlights still, and we'll find out tonight, I guess. Yeah. Danhausen, I think when I was thinking of that last night, I was thinking of Stewie and his time machine on Family Guy. So it definitely was, we'll see. I mean, he is definitely a positive thing. And as everyone said on the show, Artis has mentioned this in the past, as well as DC, that this is he's a guy made for WWE, but also Vince McMahon is like, there was the guy who liked the potty humor and all that stuff, and like the little, the kid funny stuff, and it's like he's not there anymore. So it's like they have to give in once in a while and let the pro wrestling side of wrestling happen, the entertainment portion, and he is entertaining. And it's like, I have a feeling that he needs to hook up with somebody consistently. I know that Miz was like the bad guy all the time for him, and that's how they want to bring him in, but he's also doing Undertaker stuff, like pointing his fingers and making things explode, and it's like that only lasts so long in WWE. So
well, and I think that, and I'm not wishing against him because I've always been a Danhausen fan, but I think you got to let it go, because it's like the old thing, like, if it cools off, it'll probably really cool off. Like, they'll probably, once they're off that train, that'll probably be it. So let it go hot as long as you can. Yeah. Because right, there's the potential. And if you remember, the day he came out of the box, not on his birthday, on the wrestling show, he was just, everybody was upset and was like, this is lame, this is garbage. And it took all of one show the next night on Raw for him to be super over, because everybody was like, this is the gobbledygooker 2.0, and doom and gloom, and it should have been Chris Jericho living in that box.
They all wanted Jericho. I know that. There's a lot of people, they wanted a wrestler. They didn't want, I mean, I'm not saying that he's not a wrestler, but he doesn't, doesn't wrestle regularly, we'll say, but he will be wrestling tonight, and with a mystery tag team partner. We don't know who it's going to be, but I'm guessing it'd be Gingy, maybe.
Yeah. Well, there you go, like you said. But even then, like, say the guy never has more than 5 matches. He could be Bobby Heenan. He could be a wrestling manager. You know what I mean? And could have minions, little Housens or whatever.
Yeah, like at WrestleMania, the miniature minions or the miniature
he,
Danhausen.
so now he's had burlesque Danhausen dancers and little Danhausen. Now he's going to need to get like sumo Danhausen.
You know what's funny is those are the guys that come around town here that do the bars. You know, the they call it quote unquote midget wrestling.
Oh yeah.
But there seem like they're here every like 4 or 5 months here, and they sell places out. You know, and it's I don't even think it's wrestling fans. I just think it's people who enjoy, I don't know,
bullying midgets.
Yeah, little midgets that do people's gimmicks, other people's gimmicks, and you know.
Oh, brother. Well, that's the thing too. It was like England. It's like we have the world's tallest midget, the under midget, you know, and he comes out and he's that was my favorite line ever on Aqua Teen Hunger Force Meet. I was like, man, I'm so disappointed. I went to see the world's tallest midget and it was just a guy that was 5'1", you know, and it was like the best. But it's better that than the dwarf tossing, which is right up there with apartment wrestling, where they're like getting thrown across a driveway and hoping they hit the mattress, you know.
If you talk to any little person wrestler, they've all experienced the dwarf tossing. You know, they'll have stories of it. Even Hornswoggle or Swoggle or whatever he's called, he definitely has stories about that. So, and maybe even apartment wrestling too. You know, you never know. You know. So
did I ever tell you the story about doing security for Vern Troyer? And it was at the Elmira Comic Con, and we were talking and we became fast friends over Arby's. He's like, they don't have a lot of Arby's in LA. So he had the girl get him Arby's because there was 2 in Elmira. And then we were talking and he goes, just when we leave, just like kind of get tight. He was on one of those hover rounds, like the kids drive with able-bodied at Walmart. Every time I see somebody on one of those at Walmart, it's an able-bodied kid. But he goes, just get kind of tight to me because people will try to pick me up like a baby. And I'm like, oh, cool, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Because like, could you imagine like walking around and you're 1/8 the size of a person, you just get picked up like that? It would be mortifying. So that was his big request. He's a really cool dude. He died of like alcohol poisoning or something. He was drinking a lot, but he was real cool. But he said, don't let people pick me up.
You know, you remember him on the Surreal Life, right? He was like the one who peed in the hallway or something. And
oh yeah, well, and then Adrienne Curry, who took a picture with Kevin Nash, who was like 6'4" herself, and then Mini-Me was in love with her.
Yeah, well, you know, she's pretty cute though. I'm friends with her on social media, you know, so it's like she's still pretty cute, even though she's had, you know, she's actually reversed all the surgeries she's had in the past to make herself normal again.
Oh no, she had her spleen put back in.
Something like that. And she's got gray hair now, so welcome. But she's a gamer, and she's a pretty cool chick. So, but yeah, it's that interesting that, you know, it's I can say after Vern Troyer was in, you know, obviously Austin Powers, this Dr. Evil always was picking him up, you know. So it's like I understand why people would, you know, go to pick him up, but.
Well, I'd pick up Adrienne Curry if I was him. I'd say, hey, girl, why don't you and I get together and put the alphabet?
As long as you don't pee in the closet, you're okay.
And that's it. Yeah. Hey, dude, just do it right in the middle of the floor. You know, just like we'll rub.
And China was on that show too. Remember? Yeah.
And then X-Pac showed up at the house and he's like, Joni, we got to get out of here. The man's outside. Like just all strung out on goofball and hepatitis W. But no, Adrienne Curry can be a cougar if she wants. It's okay.
Big time. So so we were just talking about all the little Housens that were coming out at WrestleMania, which was always a lot of fun. That was fun, but it's like these same guys you see in town here. In fact, I think they're coming around town again sometime soon again. Go up to them and ask them if they were at WrestleMania, because apparently the guy who runs the whole midget wrestling is, and I mean quote in quotes because that's what it's called, was contacted by Jeremy Borash, believe it or not, and he's the one who booked them all. And they all were going to come there, and they weren't going to be dressed up as Danhausen originally, but he decided to do all Danhausen with them. So
instead of pulling up in a van, he pulls up in a VW Beetle, and 45 of them get out.
45 clowns coming out. And
it's like, come on, you two. Who else is in there? And then they pop the trunk, and there's one that looks like little Mr. T from back in the 80s.
Oh my goodness. So I want to jump to something else real quick while we're, you know, let's talk about Ted Turner a little bit. Ted Turner dying this past week. He had the same disease that Robin Williams killed himself from. Which you know, but he didn't, you know, I mean, he ended up dying from, you know, a lengthy fight with this. But Ted Turner was I'm trying to remember what. Oh, it was called. It was called Lewy body dementia.
I've heard of that. Yeah, it's a rough go.
Yeah, and so, but Ted Turner, even WWE SmackDown last night gave him credit. It was on. It started with a slide at the beginning of SmackDown, and he was important because Vince McMahon. He helped Vince McMahon create modern wrestling because he beat him in the ratings, and Vince had to go in a different direction than he was going. He got rid of all the comic characters, turned it into PG-13. Stone Cold Steve Austin was very instrumental in that too, allowing him to, beat up the boss. Kind of like, creating the Mr. McMahon character had a lot to do with that too, because he always was an announcer, and then all of a sudden he was the owner, and he was the evil owner. And because of them losing, what I think Eric Bischoff's podcast is called 86 Weeks, which was 86 weeks in which WCW beat WWE head to head before obviously WCW bailing after letting the too many cooks, we'll say, causing the company to go bad.
Yeah.
But he even though Ted liked wrestling. In fact, we've seen videos this past week of him saying, I'm starting a wrestling company, or whatever. And Vince McMahon said, I'm the entertainment, or I'm professional wrestling. And they obviously, Ted Turner was inspired by Vince McMahon, what he was doing. And, Ted Turner put a lot of money into it, and he made some money, but overall he didn't. But, it was something that he enjoyed. And the TBS Superstation started every Saturday night was Saturday night wrestling on TBS, and it was like that was I became a fan of that when I was a kid, and that that had a lot to do with the creation of WCW. NWA, they were on the NWA banner then, but they became WCW when Barnett sold out to Ted Turner, and they continued on. And he was instrumental into being where we are now. If he didn't want to do it, it never happened. Who knows? We probably still have plumbers out there, and and Friar Ferguson, and some just bizarre stuff. So, but he was very instrumental, and he'll be missed. I mean, obviously CNN. He created the first news network that he was at the birth of cable TV, and he took advantage of it to the best he could. Who else had pardon me, an independent station that was running on cable TV on the entire East Coast? It was
Bro, I heard stories of people in Hawaii who were Braves fans because they got the Superstation. It was a total phenomenon, and he just seemed like a real fun guy, and not in a mushroom way, but he'd just be like, yeah, well, let's do it. Like, oh, hey, Ted, we're going to start a channel that plays cartoons 24/7. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. And just Dr. Mayer, my dentist, who's another fun guy, really cool dude, told a story that Ted Turner came and spoke at the graduation at Tufts, which is a big dental college, amongst other things, very prestigious place. And he said, I couldn't understand because he had such a deep Southern accent, but it was nice to see Jane Fonda, and Ted just seemed game. And I remember watching a 60 Minutes piece on him where he owned land from Montana or Dakota all the way down to New Mexico. And he could literally, he had land that he could pass through in every state that belonged to him, connected. And I'm like, that's a gangster move right there, dude. Like, that's all, I was, as a kid, I'm like, man, I would have little mountain hideaways, and I'd stop off and sleep in a cave, and just seemed like a game fun. And he was the original. He bought the Hawks to have content on TBS, the basketball team, and you'd see him at the games just cutting loose and having fun. And we're baseball fans. Like, baseball was my first love even before wrestling. And I remember him and Jane said, "Oh."
I remember he wanted to manage the Braves, and they made a rule in Major League Baseball saying if you own a team, you can't manage it.
No, he was almost like Jerry Jones. You feel like would foreclose on your grandmother's house. You feel like if Ted got word, he'd buy your grandma her house. Like, he was just a fun version of all these guys, but he just didn't seem like he had a bad bone in his body, and it seems like he really got marginalized in that AOL Time Warner thing,
unfortunately.
Which I've spent more time on AOL Time Warner and the failings of financially and WCW and the way they take their money and put it to different departments, so different departments didn't have losses, and Guy Evans has that Nitro book. It's great, but I just ate that stuff up for years and years. And I told the story. People are probably sick of me telling the story of my mom going, "You can watch Saturday night 6:05, but when that white-haired guy comes out and starts wooing, we're turning it off." And I go, "Are you talking about Sting or are you talking about Ric Flair? Because they're both white." And she goes, "Either of them, either of them." And we're going to switch it to Maniac Cop on Channel 11. But man, I watch and it's a shout out to another day, not Tom Green, the WCW deep cuts. That kid will sit and watch a worldwide from 1999 with Fidel Castro versus Silver King, and I'll watch. Like, I'm so nostalgic for the old WCW stuff, and it's not that I'm not for ECW or I'm not for WWE, whatever, but that stuff is just, you could go anywhere. I would go down and visit my dad, and a Saturday was for wrestling, and like Roller Jam and Grudge Match and all these other American Gladiators.
Yeah.
And if it was, the summer, the winter, like the summer, we were probably outside playing a little bit more, but we started with a bowl of cereal and WCW worldwide,
Yep. Was it 10 o'clock in the morning? I think it was.
Yeah.
I knew it was early. So yeah, that's wild. I'll tell you a funny story about Ted Turner that from a local guy here in town mentioned. Ted Turner had, he must have been, he came to Rochester. Oh, because his son was in a regatta that they were sailing out on Lake Ontario
at the yacht club.
Yeah, so he went to our news and met with all the people in there because they were obviously owned by Time Warner, and he cut a promo for them where they put the video on him. He goes, "I'm Ted Turner," and he goes, "Watch our news, all hours, all hours," and he goes, "What the hell is that?" He hated
briefly, I worked at TWC or whatever you want to call it, Spectrum, Charter, whatever it is these days, and everybody said, "Oh, this one day Ted Turner came through." It was like the highlight of the existence, and the building's famously been on Mount Hope for years, and now it's a mobile for Spectrum Mobile. But yeah, everybody told that story, and I just imagine like the guy like mopping the floor, be like, "Hey, fella, hang in there, you'll be good." Like, I just imagine him. It's that thing you hear about, and it seems Pollyannish, like, "Oh, treat the guy sweeping the floor the same as you would the president." And I feel like Ted did that.
Yeah, he I mean, he hasn't been significant in the world of wrestling in quite a while, ever since that AOL Time Warner merger, which brought around the end of WCW pretty quick, because they didn't want to give up their free TV time. So that's when they said them selling all their tapes and everything to WWE and canceling everything. And that's because Ted wasn't in charge anymore. And I'm sure if he was, it would have kept going, But there's a lot of wrestlers who are still in the business today, or or at least personalities still, that have great stories about Ted Turner. And I'm sure we'll hear a lot more coming up. But yeah.
Well, it was good that, especially with Tony Schiavone, who, there's sort of two eras of WCW wrestling. There's Gordon Solie and there's Tony Schiavone, and people, try to dunk on. Tony was out of wrestling for 20 years. He'd be here with the Gwinnett Braves, and Nick Sharada would be like, "Oh, I talked to Tony Schiavone today." But Tony Schiavone was the voice of that modern WCW. It's Sting, all that. So it was.
We got Sting this past week on AEW to honor Ted Turner. Talked a little bit about him. So
the best and worst of Tony Schiavone was, you remember Cartman's father on South Park? It was a big storyline. There was that one time where it said, "Hollywood is Cartman's father," and Tony goes, "Would you look at that? Hollywood is the Cartman's father." It sounded like, greetings, fellow kids. What's his name there? Steve Buscemi, but he's the Cartman. It's like, don't, Tony, just don't read stuff. He's like,
I'm the real Crunchy the Clown. I mean, Krusty the Clown.
it had those vibes, and it's like, oh, Tony, what are you doing?
Cartman.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Sounds like the authority there for a second. Respect. Yeah. Authority. Hold on a second. Oh, I can't reach him. He's behind me. I got Cartman behind me.
Oh man,
it usually have that every show, so it's like, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's and the funny, gosh, I've heard so much about Tony Schiavone lately, and I guess Bobby Heenan was not a big fan of Tony Schiavone.
Well, and there's a clip out there, and again, this is me seeing every minute of WCW ever, like where he gave love to Gorilla, and Tony's like, "Are you finished?" And he's like, "No, I'm not." And then he like, because Gorilla and Bobby, and
Yeah,
like Bobby got hot at him, and there was like that's the bitch of that. Pardon my French, but like it's Saturday morning. I don't want to say that on Mother's Day either, but like when you're the producer and you're on the team, it's like being the quarterback. But like Tony should have had more sense about that, and especially in Rochester, like we're gonna love Gorilla a little bit more than everybody else, but for Tony and Gorilla, you let him do that and you let it pass and you go about your business. But it's just I think sometimes back in the day he was a little more motivated to just keep the train rolling. And with like, yeah, there's two guys, Bobby Heenan, Roddy Piper. Even if they're going on some crazy rant, you just let them go.
Yeah, definitely. The Warrior, that's something else,
Oh yeah, well, you're right. Yeah, then you're DC hoping that you can bring somebody back the next year to the Young Republican stock or whatever.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of things about Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan not being a big fan of his, especially at the end, towards the end, and when Heenan was still under contract and they weren't even using him for like I think like the last year or something like that. So he also was going through a lot of health issues as well. So we were lucky to get Bobby Heenan on the show at one point when he was going through those health issues, and it was a little bit hard to hear him, but I was so happy to actually have him on, because it's like this show being for as long as we've done it, we've had Gorilla Monsoon, Gordon Sully, Bobby Heenan, we've had all these. I'm going to go find all those and repost those interviews, because they've got to they got to draw some interest, because of these people. And even what's his name,
Today.
Who's the Hooker guy who wrote the book Hooker?
Oh yeah, Gouch or
no, not Gouch.
He was of that group. Damn.
I'll figure it out. But yeah, so it's we have some solid old interviews. I would love to
yeah, you got to package those up so people can just enjoy, like, all it's like the Captain Crunch, oops, all announcers, or like, oops, all hookers. But I don't know if you remember when you guys put out the call and it was me and Jay-Z, I wrote you an email and I said, I'm at Brockport because I'm going to be a broadcast journalist, McMahon, because that was when I was a kid. He's like, I'm a broadcast journalist, McMahon. Like he would always say that, and that gave me the awareness of the broadcast journalism program. I'm like, this is a real thing. Like, I almost went to school to be a beautician. I almost went to the Continental School of Beauty, and then I wound up getting arrested and kicked out and got a restraining order.
Really good nails. Hey, Luthez, I was thinking of.
Luthez,
yeah. So we had Luthez on. It's time when Dr. Love and I had interviewed him, and he didn't talk much about modern wrestling at all. Do you want to shout out if you're a fan of Weeze? Soccer Sam is on Weeze's show this week, and on the Weeze show. And he and I were texting. He wants to get together when he comes back to town, but it was like it brought back some good memories of some of the fun things we used to do a long time ago on the radio. Some of the crazy stuff. But
well, if there's one thing I'm more nostalgic for than WCW, it was radio. Because like when I was a kid, when I was a boy, you'd see this stuff like WKRP. They're like, there's a guy broadcasting at 9:30 at night, and it was just, by the time I got in, it wasn't even that. It was like the Quickie Mart version of like, well, at 9:00 we turn it over to JT the Brick, and now, oh my God, okay, fine, no problem. But
it's just sad to see where the business has gone. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now it's like one guy plugging a blog all night, and I'm like, brother, you're getting nobody hearing that. Like, it's a shame.
I love how they plug in their top of the hours. They say human. I think that's the word they're using now. It's like human. There's no humans running this thing whatsoever.
Well, and this is
monsters.
No. Yeah, it's all tape machines with mouse, like on Pee Wee's Playhouse, but reel to reels. But
seriously,
like, you'll appreciate this as much as I do. As you will hear, portions of this program are pre-recorded, which is the entire shift, and they have to put that in there so you're not under the illusion there's somebody taking your request for I'm the bad guy. Like, you know,
I'm sure Soraya's not, or Paige is not requesting that one. So
no, no, not at all. Jeez Louise, she got a big bust on her top of her head.
I saw that last night. Yeah, they were defending the tag titles. They're going to make her go out and wrestle. Now, she hadn't done much wrestling. Even when she was in AEW, she didn't do much wrestling,
I root for her. I feel like she came in full of her, it's like Paul Heyman said, too full of her own ass, at the beginning. Oh, I've been wrestling for 14 years and I'm 17 years old. But I feel like she's, girl, you'll be a woman soon. She's kind of grown into herself. And this might be a time where she has an actual good little run, even if it's 2 years.
I mean, she was a good, solid wrestler in the beginning of her career until she got hurt.
Yeah.
And now they're worried, about her neck because she took that one drop kick from Sasha
Mercedes, yeah, whatever.
Sasha Banks. And when that happened, she like had a stinger that made her, bottom half go numb or whatever. And so they've worried about that ever since then. She's been given approval from everybody, and she can come back. But I don't know if she, she's wrestling it that many years. I'm guessing she's probably, you got to be smarter now and do less to be, put on a good show. So
yeah,
she's doing okay so far. I mean, listen. It's funny that like I said, from when I was talking about WrestleMania, Paige was like one of the big things, even though everybody knew Paige was in town and everybody had an idea something was going to happen, especially if Nikki Bella was still hurt, and which she was. And so, kudos to that, but I'm happy to see her back. I root for her without a doubt. I got to meet her with Alberto Del Rio at that mixed martial arts event that happened at
Combate
Americanos, yeah, and we got to hang out a little bit with them and their announcer as well. The announcer guy used to hang Ricardo, I think his name was,
Ricardo Rodriguez.
Yeah, we were hanging out with them a little bit and got some interview time with both those folks and couldn't talk with Paige about anything because she was under contract to WWE still at the time. So
right, and if she said the wrong thing, Alberto like raised the back of his hand at her.
Well, they all were high on something, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they're high on life. Dude, I'll tell you what, I never saw her embrace her stardom more than when they played "We Will Rock You" at Wembley at the AEW show. She came out and she had her family and the whole lineage of that over there, and she had her arms out and she looked like a freaking goddess, and it was the most star building moment I ever saw her. And I'm not saying like they did nothing with it, but like nothing really came of it. But I just remember like, holy cow, I was watching some reel of all the entrances for that event, and she had the biggest one in that show.
Yeah, and she was a homecoming, and she ended up winning the title, and it really was a big day for her in AEW. They were worried about her being hurt too, as well, obviously, so.
Well, neck and back, it's as far as structurally, that's your core. That's like a car won't pass an inspection if the frame's bad, and that's your frame. And it's they say as Americans, we all have some kind of back or neck problem just because of the way we sit or the way we are, don't modulate and walk as much as we should. And it's tough, especially being that young, I imagine. I think she's just about 30. I don't even think she's 30.
I think she's 34. I think
she?
Yeah, okay, I think that's
that makes sense. But yeah, it's he ran. Oh, there he is. Hulk Hogan is the Cartman's father. Hey, it's the Cartman.
Respect my authority. So yeah, cool. Yeah, let's I want to talk about a couple things and then get to the news and we'll get out of here. One thing I want to mention, WWE Raw will be coming to Buffalo August 17th. Monday Night Raw. They just announced it 2 days ago, and I don't know when tickets go on sale, but they're coming back this way. Heck, NXT is this Friday at Riverworks.
Oh yeah, it is.
I would so be there, but man, Derby's this weekend coming up, and I've got stuff planned for Friday. I can't do it, but I would love to. I want to catch up with JB.
Yeah,
he was on the road with them last I knew, but that was also a few years ago too. So he may not be on the road with. I know he has a lot to do with AAA booking, him and Undertaker, and I think they've become good friends because ever since that AJ Styles Undertaker match during the COVID shutdown where they had I don't know, remember that cinematic match they had
Yeah, with
You always see the meme now with the Undertaker coming up behind AJ Styles.
yeah, and I think Taker cut his arm bad in that match somehow.
I remember they had to stop it for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, no, JB is a real technical whiz, and he's another radio guy. He got a Marconi when he was like 16 for doing work on Saturday morning or something. And
He was working with a lady, a psychologist on the air or something. I remember he told us about it many times. So he was
yeah, it was one of rest in peace, Liz Bonus, but it was something like that. You know, it was like him and some lady who was famous in the Twin Cities, but. Yeah, what a great dude. And he's just always we wouldn't know the Jenks man if it wasn't for JB.
we wouldn't know a lot of people, He was like he was such a good friend of the show. And it's like I feel bad when I like contact him nowadays because I know WWE is so restrictive.
Yeah.
But it's a new company too, man. All those people that used to block us all the time are gone. So, it's like
well, you know what they say about new beginnings. It's a new day. Oh, too soon.
So I do want to mention that Chris Jericho and his band Quarantine are going to be here at the Montage on August 7th. So if you want to see him come and and he does it's like Kiss Classic or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, I bet you DiGiorgio will be there.
Oh, he's there without a doubt. Yeah, I know he's going to be there, but yeah, so Quarantine, they're playing August 7th. Raw is going to be August 17th in Buffalo. No Rochester dates yet, but of course, I wouldn't expect a Rochester date. They don't do a lot of house shows anymore. We got lucky last year with one. So
yeah, right around Christmas, and I think that's how it's going to be. Like they'll hit these markets, these legacy markets like us around Christmas with a house show, and that's about the best it's going to be.
And, but I mean, it's still a good chance to see guys and stuff. So I did not go to the last one, which is the first one I missed in many, many, many years. So, I definitely I would like to catch a show again, maybe Monday night. I don't know. But I did want to mention that I believe the tickets are on sale now. They did announce them. They're doing a whole sweep through Toronto or up in Toronto. They're doing 3 days up in Canada, St. Catharines, Toronto, I think Hamilton too.
Dude, so, I used to love, and it was, the times were so simple. Like I used to get in my dad's truck and I would go to, like, I remember one year it was almost a month apart. I went to First Niagara to watch Nitro. And then the next night I went up to Kitchener, which is like whatever. And then in ECW, I went to Burt Flick, and during the next night I went to Mississauga, which is like Santino's hometown where Battle Arts, not then, but like, and literally I had a note from my dad, like, my son is allowed to take my truck across the border. And I like gave it to the guy. He's like, all right, toodaloo. And I thought I was getting arrested. I said, did you say to the left? Like I thought the truck was going to get tossed. He goes, no, I said toodaloo, have a good time. So
we had some fun times up there going to Ring of Honor shows, that's for sure, and TNA shows. So it used to, it was, very it's nice to get the freebies on occasion, I will say. I've definitely TNA was freebies as well as Ring of Honor most of the time. But
that time we went to Ashwan, I fell in love with a girl, fell in love once and almost completely with her femme mule, like Marky Post. Do you remember her?
She was, we didn't realize it, but the alcohol content in beers were much higher than they are in America.
I remember.
Yeah, I lied. We knew that.
Yeah,
it only took a couple. I think I broke a glass on the bar by accident.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but yeah, that was my first thought, was like you like doing the Hulk hand like with a beer.
Oh, I smashed. I just hit it too hard, so I bounced it and it fell and whatever. Nevertheless, yeah, a lot of fun there. So let me get the news and we'll get out of here. And I want to remind you guys, there is a pay-per-view tonight, as well as a live collision. There was a collision. If you watched AEW this past week, they did 2 hours of Dynamite and then 1 hour collision. And then apparently the second hour collision, they're going to do a second hour tonight, but it's going to be live. But I will let you know when I get to it in the news who's doing what. But right now, I did want to, we mentioned the cuts to start the show from that happened right after the show last week with JC Mateo, Tongaloa being a recut from WWE, as well as Woods and Kingston from the New Day. Will they show up someplace else? Will they show up in AEW after their no compete runs out? We will see. I don't know. It probably you made a good idea. Maybe they should do an indie or two or so. I know that Kofi's done indies before he went to WWE, so.
You can bring back his SOS, My Name's Not Shelton song.
Yeah. So if you're going to watch Backlash, John Cena is going to be making an appearance there. I think it's going to have something to do with this Club WWE thing. I always thought he was going to be the, Danhausen's tag partner, but I doubt that because he retired. We'll see. I don't know. You can watch it, figure out what John Cena's doing tonight. Longtime NWA standout and former WWE wrestler Trevor Murdoch retired this past week. From a 27-year run in the business, he retired after during an episode of NWA Power. I have to say it that way because there's too many R's at the end of it.
Yeah, too many R's.
But he retired. You remember Trevor Murdoch? He was a tag champ in WWE, I think. With
that was quite him and Lance Cade.
Lance
God rest Lance Cade's soul. But yeah, Trevor Murdoch, he was a fun guy, almost in a mushroom sense. But
I think we might have met him at the Dinosaur after one of the shows.
He definitely, and I think my buddy Aaron, I got him like the radio meet and greet. It was like Jesse, the little Slater, who's a cop now, was with Festus, Tommy Dreamer, and Murdoch. And that was what you would get with the meet. And it was just a total mixed bag of who you got, like three guys that were either not on TV or, were just a lower mid-card heel or face. But yeah, that's my buddy met him.
That's cool. So I mentioned Nick Khan re-signing with WWE. That he has a contract now that runs through 2030. So it's 4 years, it looks like. TNA Slammiversary and AEW's Forbidden Door actually are running on the same day, June 28th. TNA Slammiversary decided to move their show to the 3:00 in the afternoon start to not compete with AEW's Forbidden Door, which is a good thing because, I don't know. I know that that TNA was angry at AEW for running on a Thursday night like a month ago because of the NCAA basketball tournament. They had to run Collision on a Thursday night, and they did, and that's the same night as TNA on AMC, and so that's when, like, the WrestleMania week, when TNA started canceling any of their wrestlers who might be taking on AEW wrestlers in any of those independent shows, the 500 independent shows that happened the week of WrestleMania. And everyone was mad at everybody, including they were mad at the CEO of TNA about it. And so this seems like I don't think they have much choice about both those guys running on the same day, but at least TNA did the right thing and decided to run theirs earlier, so people will watch their show. And then maybe watch AEW, or the other way around as well. It'll give out people opportunity. It could be a whole day of wrestling on June 28th. So,
well, and that's the thing too. It's like at some point, like, you're an affiliate of WWE, and like you're not going to get hurt. And of the many things I understand, standing on your hill about not having, oh, my guy lost to an AEW. I understand that a lot more than like, oh, we're both going to go at 10 o'clock and, I'm going to swing my arms like this and walk towards you. And then it's like, well, I'm going to kick and walk towards you, and whoever gets hit, gets hit. No, like, and the Slammiversary is like their WrestleMania. Yeah. Or it's Bound for Glory. Which one? Yeah, it's Slammiversary. So just, don't let people see your product.
Yeah. And you're right. It's Bound for Glory. It's their WrestleMania, but Slammiversary is like there's the SummerSlam. It's like,
it's a big one.
It's one of their big ones. Yeah.
It's number 2, not in a bad way, but like, it's number 2.
Yeah. So, interesting. So, those are both on a Sunday too, in fact. So, if you spend your pay-per-view dollars on 2 shows that day,
it's a wonder it doesn't happen more where the shows collide like that. It really is. Like, if you figure there's 3 companies and they're all booking like that, it's a wonder you don't have more just like smack into each other.
Well, we had that AEW Dynamite and NXT that went head to head for a very long time, and then NXT moved to a different night. So, but that was a big deal for a while, and then I don't think anybody really, it was a win-win proposition because you had more people watching wrestling at the same time, whether it be one channel or the other. But I think AEW ended up winning that a little head to head for a while.
Well, and granted, we do live in a different era where you can sort of catch stuff on delay. I mean, when I was a kid, the greatest thing ever was that second Nitro that started at 11 o'clock or midnight. That was
the replay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can watch them both and not try to set up a tape machine. Pardon me. It's a different era, but still, like, if you, in a world of spoilers where you might get a push notification on your phone and you don't want to watch them at staggered times, why not,
Definitely. So, In other news, Dark Side of the Ring is returning for a seventh season. Variety reports that the new season will open on Tuesday, July 7th, 8 o'clock on Vice TV, with two of the three episodes on TNA and Jeff Jarrett. Uh,
That's
interesting.
a that's a pretty rich vein because he had some issues with substances at that time, and he was like doing the Glenn Beck, you need to buy gold, like he was trying to get us to buy gold and stuff like that, and whatever else. He's really come around. He's doing fine now, but there was a sort of a dark moment there for Jeff Jarrett.
Oh yeah, that and the whole Kurt Angle's wife thing, and his wife dying of cancer, and so the remaining episodes are on Paul Orndorff, Ray Big Boss Man Trailer, Missy Hyatt, Necro Butcher versus Samoa Joe, Zach Gowen, and Rick Wilson. You might remember as, what was he called again? The Renegade.
Renegade, yeah.
Renegade, Rick Wilson. Variety notes that Wilson was an exotic dancer who portrayed the Ultimate Warrior knockoff character billed as the Renegade.
That's like my bio too. I did the exact same thing in the 90s. do, 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 do.
There you go. You got little tassels hanging down and stuff. All right.
Well, not just I know we're wrapping up, but like, man, that was the biggest ripoff to me at the time. I'm like, there's a third Ultimate Warrior, because that was right after we all thought the original one died and came. I'm like, this is the third Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, they thought that Kerry Von Erich was one of them too at one point. So it was like they all looked the same. They all had the same kind of physique. So, yeah, I remember, I felt bad. That's probably why he killed himself. I hate to say it, is that because he was just called a ripoff the whole time he was there. But he probably shouldn't have taken it too seriously. It's a pro wrestling. You know what? If you listen, there was a fake Diesel and a fake Razor Ramon for a while too. So and one of them turned into being Kane. So
well, yeah, and there was a whole cottage industry in England where they'd be like, "Come see the Undertaker," and it was like some Cockney guy that was 5'10". Like,
I remember going to an indie show where they said it was the Iron Sheik. It wasn't the Iron Sheik. This guy looked like him.
It was a guy wearing his outfit, like ironing his head scarf. Like, I'm the Iron Sheik.
Yeah, I could look like the Iron Sheik, so I will. So they sold it as that, which was terrible because people came in thinking it was the Iron Sheik too. So it was at CMAC, or I mean at Finger Lakes.
With the Kid Justice or Kid USA or whatever.
Yeah, Kid USA versus the Iron Sheik. It wasn't. I was in the ring, and it was not the Iron Sheik. Okay.
Oh man,
I got a picture someplace of it. I'll see if I can find it. So
somewhere Cosgrove found out he wasn't making a $50 booking and went, F him,
Brony.
Yeah. I'll break your back, make you humble.
Brony. All right. If you're going to watch AEW Collision tonight, it is a 1 hour live show. Darby Allin versus Pac for the AEW World Championship. Jack Perry versus Mark Davis for the AEW National Championship. And AEW Women's Tag Champions Megan Bain and Lena Cross will be in action. It's from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida at the SoFi Center. It is a live one tonight. So
do you think if Darby was in WWE right now, he'd be Arby Dallin and come to the ring with a beef sandwich?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Vern Troyer would be looking for him, right?
Yeah. Jumps on his head, tries to steal his sandwich.
There's my Arby's. So if you're going to watch Backlash, which is going to be held today in Tampa at the Benchmark International Arena, this is the lineup basically. And the first two matches will be live on ESPN2. You've got Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker and Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn for the U.S. Championship. Both of those will be on ESPN2. John Cena announces history-making news that will change the WWE experience for superstars and fans. So it's got to be something with this WWE club or Club WWE. Yeah. Danhausen and a partner versus The Miz and Kit Wilson. Asuka versus Io Sky. Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu for the World Heavyweight Championship. I kind of like Jacob Fatu. I mean, it's hard because both these guys get face pops, now. I mean, Roman Reigns gets obviously since I don't know. He didn't really get a face pop much against Punk, but I think it's a problem is you can put two faces against each other. It's like you're going to split the crowd.
Yeah. Well, then it's like, then one of them's got to do heel things like the Punk, like, yeah, your dad's dead. And somebody made a great point yesterday about Sol Ruca has got a lot of heelish sort of, I'm going to break your neck stuff for a baby face. I don't know. We're kind of losing that, that checklist Vince had of don't say this if you're a baby face.
Seriously, you're right. There's a lot of things that they've thrown out the window, a lot of the rules. The final hour of the countdown show and the first hour of the main card will be on ESPN too. So that's that's tonight. You definitely don't want to miss that. You can watch it on ESPN Unlimited. I think that's what it is. I get that, believe it or not, I get the Unlimited through Disney Plus. Disney Plus
Yeah.
gives me an option to go to that. So it's like, and that's the only reason I've ever watched anything on that channel. So
Well, there's just so many options that sometimes they cross over, and you find a 4-leaf clover, and you get a backdoor channel to the thing. So
I still want to watch the Hulk Hogan thing on Peacock, though. Yeah, I want to take is it, no, it's Netflix, the Hulk Hogan.
The best part of that is the trailer. Like, that trailer was so well put together, because the content I'd heard a million times. It was about Bash at the Beach, but then like halfway through the thing, Hulk's like, "Listen, brother, I'll tell you where all the bodies are buried." And then out of nowhere at a bar in Calgary, you see Bret Hart go, "Hulk Hogan's a lawyer." It's like, so if you need somebody to come and like rain on the parade, it's Bret. And I'm not mad at Bret in the least, but it's always like, if you want somebody to just call somebody a liar, be it Hogan, Flair, or like some mid-card dude, you just get Bret on the right day.
It's so funny is the only video clips I've seen of Bret Hart from this, he's been saying nice things about Hogan, about his promo cutting ability and stuff.
Well, kudos, and like, I'll give him that too. He'll call a spade and say, "Yeah, no, the dude did this well." But like, it's always like, if you want salty Bret, he's not that far away.
Oh, you just got to start with what, WrestleMania, the one that was at Caesar's
10.
Palace,
10 or 9, whichever.
I
Yeah,
think it was 9, the Caesar's Palace, where he, he came out and Bret won the title, and then, or no, lost the title, and then 5 minutes later Hogan won the title.
He's like, "Get in the ring, brother, avenge my loss."
He's like, "Oh, you can do that on the fly. You don't have to have like a contract signing, or you gotta stretch this out."
Yeah, just jump in there, brother.
Quite appropriate. So on this note, we're gonna get out of here. I want to thank you guys in the chat room. We got some people that stayed quite a long time in the chat room, so thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it. As always, we'll be back next week. Here talking wrestling with you. So thank you, Murph, for making it. I appreciate it.
Oh, most definitely.
And if you want to hang on just a minute after we get done, I want to talk to you. But thank you guys in the chat room. Don't forget, all our old shows are on iTunes, as well as the painclinic.net. Check it out. And we will see you guys next week. Same bat time. Well, I'm not hitting the button right. Same bat time. Same bat